Skittlefarts, Houston, worst case scenario. Rose's injunction gets denied in Florida. What's next for Acme? At what point do international investors, brokers get involved? I mean, if the judge does deny her motion, which, you know, I mean, it's within their own possibility, but I think she raises enough questions that any judge worth their salt is going to be like, you know what? I find this really interesting. Let's see where it goes. Grant motion. Let's see where these cards fall. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that there are shorts existing on the stock, and that let's sort of frame why you can't have short positions on private companies. One, you can't sell the stock, so you can't short it. Period. So how are you going to borrow shares to sell if you can't sell it? Therefore, you cannot physically short it. How can you borrow it? Plus, there's no QSIP, so how are you going to transfer the stuff around? Are you literally bicycling paper shares back and forth with couriers? Two, you can't naked short it. Why? Because naked shorting involves, according to Reg Show, you have to identify purchasable shares that you could potentially purchase later to cover your position. If there's no market, there are no shares you can purchase. So you can't short a private company. Period. There is some language about companies that may have an IPO and folks getting access to shares ahead of that IPO. You know, might have an underwriter, like Solomon Smith Barney or something is an underwriter for an IPO. They may have some shares available, and they may actually short if they don't actually believe in the company that they're underwriting. And that is a little sketchy, a little different. But in this case, there's no underwriter for an IPO. There's just the current shareholders, and you shouldn't be able to short this stuff. I think Rosa is going to be able to make a really great case, a really great argument showing that because the S1 promises one NextBridge share for every share of MMTLP, so you got this 1-for-1 in there, right? That because there are hundreds of millions, if not billions, of these fake shares that have been sold and traded, and people think they own the real thing, and because they paid money for that real thing, they cannot get that 1-for-1. It might be 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, right? There might be 3 fake shares for every 1 real share. How are you going to make sure that real share goes to all 3 people? You can't. And if you can't guarantee that, then a fraud was committed. And there's no way to rectify that fraud without forcing the closure of those 3 fake positions. And you can't force that closure without there being a market of some kind. Whether it's opening the market up for 2 days and telling FINRA, hey, FINRA, the market's going to open for 2 days on this. You tell those brokers to make a common QSIP for all these NextBridge shares, and tell the brokers they have to force close short positions, every last one of them in those 2 days. Or there might be a negotiation of, hey, there's a settlement deal of X number of dollars, and the first 300 million of you to agree to it gets that money. The rest of you move on to NextBridge. It could also be the gray market, which, I hope it's not the gray market. The gray market is going to be super sketchy because they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, we need your shares. What's it going to take to get you out of those shares today? And people will be like, $5,000 a share. And they'll be like, no, how about $5 a share? And you're going to tell them to go get fucked. And they're going to be like, okay, like $10 a share. I'm like, no, 5,000. I'll make it 10,000 actually. And they go, I'm going to call someone else. And they're going to call someone else. And they might get somebody who's like, you know what? Yeah, take my $5. And they get a few shares here and there. But for the most of us, we want to squeeze blood from this thing. We want pain and suffering. We want them to hurt and to have it hurt so bad they lose the taste for ever doing it again. Right? The once bitten, twice shy thing. Like, make it so painful that for these brokers and their hedge funds and everyone else, that they never want to touch a naked share ever again. Make it absolutely just so awful. It reminds me of when I was a little kid, my dad lived in Japan. Go out and like spend the summer over there, and just up the hill from us was a hotel. Now, on top of the hotel, there was like a Boeing 707 passenger jet on top of this hotel up the hill from our apartment, and it was a nightclub. It was a nightclub owned by the Yakuza, and I was like totally fascinated with the Yakuza because in your brain think like Japanese gangsters, ninjas, samurai, whatever. Just dragon tattoos and things like that. And I was asking my dad like what are the crimes the Yakuza do? And he's like, oh, they'll run pachinko parlors or they'll rob them, and they do like smuggling and drugs and things like that. And I was like, so like, do they shoot people? He's like, oh God, no. Committing a crime with a gun in Japan is so awful that not even the Yakuza will touch a gun. They're like, I'm out. Just because getting picked up with one can result in like a 30-year prison sentence. And, whatever crime you commit, you're just not going to use that. You'll cut people's fingers off. You'll hit them with a car. Do whatever you want. You just will not. The Yakuza will not touch a gun. And because the pain of that is so great that even like one of the strongest organized crime families in the world are like, yeah, we're not going to bother with that. I want that type of pain felt for short sellers. I want them to be so leery of naked shorting something, of generating FTD, because the potential payout for the unlimited liability they've taken on is so great that they really have to like really sit and think and ponder and sit there with their thoughts. So if it does go to the gray market, be cruel, negotiate for yourself. I'm going to be asking for an absolute ton, and maybe they'll follow through, maybe they won't, but at any rate, I'm hoping everyone does. Maria Garcia, Houston, does Rosa have to do a rebuttal for Finra's answer? She doesn't, but it's a good thing to do. Usually, you submit a complaint, the other side will submit an answer, you can submit a response to that answer, and so on. And you can submit memoranda and motions, and all sorts of things along the way. And the judge will read it. I don't think she needs to do another like 200-page one. Their answer hinged on just a couple of things. One, claiming that they've got immunity to any and all lawsuits when they don't. They have immunity to monetary damages. Two, they're claiming that what they did was in the interest of the market. And I think Rosa can easily show that what they did screwed things up and caused harm. And was not in the best interest of the market or the people involved, the investors involved. And three, they really ignored the concept of short selling. This is a private company now, and that there should not be short positions on this private company. And that there are, and the existence of those short positions means investors are harmed because they actually can't get their shares they're promised. That 1-for-1 they're promised. They can't get it. So I think she can show that when they claim that they were looking out for investors because, the settlement, the settlement can't happen. We won't be able to settle things and people won't get their shares. They're not getting their shares now, dude, because you never closed the positions you should have been telling people to close. Your corporate action should have said, hey, you have to close everything. Any short position you have must be closed, and brokers, you are going to force close those positions. That's what the corporate action should have said. And they had months to get ready. They had weeks after the S1 was approved, and they didn't do it, and they didn't do it, and they didn't do it, and they didn't do it. And when they did it, they panicked a day later and went, we're taking it all back. Stop trading. An extraordinary event. Oh no. No, you didn't protect us at all. You didn't protect us in any way, shape, or form. So she'll be able to reiterate that stuff in a much better, concise method than I possibly can. And I'm looking forward to reading what she sends them. I'll be out this week. She was saying that she's going to try and get that through this week, and then she's got her vacation she's planned with friends that she's been planning for a year, and she's going to go do that. So, yeah. Quiet Quest, settlement or open market is more realistic for MMTLP next bridge. Honestly, I think it comes down to what a judge rules. Federal judge may have a lot of leeway in how he makes an order. I'm sure that if he makes an order that goes against FINRA, they will definitely try to appeal. And they'll hope that they get somebody. Is Florida 10th district or 11th district? I can't remember which district, which court of appeals it is. I might be totally wrong about whatever. My guess is that if it rules against FINRA, FINRA will try to appeal. But that appeal may try to force a stay of some kind. Like, hey, you can't go through with the order from this judge. That may or may not work. The judge may be able to write it in such a way that's like, all right, you have to get this done by Thursday. And if it isn't done, there's issues. And FINRA may not be able to get their act together in time to make that happen. So they'll have to follow through on whatever the court order is. And in the court order, it could be weak. It could be like 2 more days of trading. That's it. And there's no specifics to it. Or it could be very strong saying, look, it appears that there's short still in this private company. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell FINRA, you have to do 2 more days of trading. And it's going to be on this date and this date. And in those 2 days, you are to tell every one of your brokers, all your members, that they must force close any and all short positions in those 2 days. And when those 2 days are up, I'm going to ask for an accounting of how many shares each brokerage has. We're going to tally them up. And if there are still short positions, there's going to be hell to pay. We could do a fine of $100,000 for every short share there is, $1 million, whatever. And to make it so punitive and awful that they're going to want to go through with it. That it depends on how the ruling comes. It could be completely catered fantastic to exactly what you need, or it could be really vague and FINRA goes, all right, 2 more days of trading someday in the future. I don't know. And settlement could be negotiated by the government. SEC could come in and say, like, this looks like a mess. We're gonna have to do all this crap. We're gonna do a settlement of X amount of dollars per share, and we calculated this many naked shares. So the first 300 million who agree to this price, they're out. And then everyone else who stays, they move on with next bridge, and we're just over it. So that's something that could also happen. I think everyone's before they move on to a settlement or anything, they'll probably wait to see what the judge in Florida says, and in any other cases that are being brought forward. Lee wants to know, so are we going to be forced into paying for the next bridge shares transfer? We shouldn't be. I think if you raise a stink with your broker, you call them, say, hey, I want to transfer, and say, oh, it's going to cost this much. Be like, well, actually, here's evidence showing that AST doesn't charge for a transfer. So just transfer it. You might get them to go, all right, fine. Someone posted last night that they did that to TD, and TD agreed to not charge them. And TD was the one that was going to charge $500 per share, not $500 for all your shares. If you got 1,000 shares, you're going to owe us $500,000 to transfer those over. And he complained to them saying that ASC does not charge for this service. And they relented and said they'd send him an email confirming that. And they never sent an email confirming that. So, Coffee and Donuts, Bed Bath & Beyond traded $88 million out of a $78 million share float. Yeah, that's what happens. Because 95% of those shares that were traded aren't real.